So for this video, I had the idea to give you a few, mostly PvP tips, but I'm going to be covering build making. So, because, you know, that's pretty fundamental, that's like really important. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the mindset of PvP, and, well, you know, playing a video game in general, you know. The first thing we're going to start off with is the part you really want to hear, which is, how do I, you know, fight people? Go on the offense, you know? You pull out your long spear, and how do you hit someone with it, right? Because what ends up happening, also, I forgot to mention, both of these characters are me. I control both of them. So, like, everyone say hi.
Hey!
See? So, without further ado, the first thing we're going to talk about is roll catching. So roll catching is the most important skill in any Souls game, except for maybe Dark Souls 1, Demon Souls, and I don't know about Bloodborne. Bloodborne kind of doesn't have multiplayer, which is just something we like to say because it does, but it's never going to work in a way that's like any of the other games. So, roll catching, your opponent is rolling like crazy, they're mashing circle, they're like, oh no, I need to get away, oh he's gonna try to kill me, I need to get out of here, I'm panic rolling so hard right now, there's nothing I can do about it, I gotta get out of here, I'm invulnerable during rolls have worked all the time except for this right now, right? So, the way it works is, your opponent's roll catching, or your opponent's rolling, and you gotta roll catch them. And then they're gonna queue up another roll, like that, you gotta hit them again. Okay, it's really hard to do. Because, you know, I'm using both these controllers. So I'm sorry, I did it once right there. So roll catching, if your opponent's rolling away from you like this. Okay, the problem is the L2 is getting pressed. Maybe I can do it like this. So your opponent's rolling away from you, right? So you gotta time your attack so it'll hit during the roll. Normally you want to be running during this. I don't have enough fingers for that, but I'm gonna try. Okay. Let's say your opponent's rolling. You gotta roll catch it, like that. That's a roll catch. You want to keep doing it though. And the only real way to do that is with running attacks. So your opponent runs, you do up. And then you don't do that. You do another running attack. Let me see if I can get a good one. Okay. See, and that's a roll catch. And that's how you roll catch. There you go. That was a good demonstration. And you can do that with, not every weapon, but there's some that are easier to do it with. Like, maybe I can show you. Because I kind of have everything. Usually you want to do it with the running attack. But basically, the roll catch, you want to learn the timing of your weapon. You want to know that your opponent is panicking, and it's really essential because so many people panic. It doesn't really matter if we kill the other guy. He's fine. Just resummon him. Next up is stamina management. Let's get our testing dummy over here. We don't really need, well, yes we do because we need to be in combat. Okay. Testing dummy. So once you're in combat, you gotta wait for the spawn immunity. That's important. There's spawn immunity for like 15 seconds. I think it's 5. See if we can hit him now. Okay, so the music begins. And now you gotta think, so your stamina's going down, right? So you attack, and your attacks take stamina, right? So you can't just do that all the time. See, it's low now, so now I have to conserve my stamina. I have to think, I don't want it to run out, because if it runs out, then I literally won't be able to run. See, you got a moment where you can't run. I'm holding the run button, and it just isn't working. That's why you need to conserve your stamina. You don't want to run out, and then you can't run. Because if you can't run, then you can't get away. Also, there's negative stamina. So see, let's run out of stamina. let's get low stamina real quick. And then if you get a big weapon, you do a big attack. Suddenly it takes longer for your stamina to come back. And if you're in negative stamina, well, guess what? That means you can't roll, because you don't have any stamina. So yeah. 2, up, 3, and then now we're in negative stamina, we can't run, now we can run. It takes like a good 2 seconds to be able to run again. So stamina is important. And you gotta know exactly how much you can block. Right? So if you're blocking, like you get hit. Okay, I'm not locked on. You get hit. There goes a chunk of your stamina, right? Now first off, I won't recommend ever using a weapon to block. But like, take note. I can take one hit and then it gets broken. Like that's two-handed. Let's try one-handed. Yeah, see, it's pretty similar. But you see something like a dagger, you can take a couple of those hits, right? So if you're getting pressured, don't feel like you can't block, but be careful what you block. Don't block the giant great hammer or whatever. I think it's a great hammer. Let's find out. No, this is a great axe. Yeah. Okay. So that's stamina management. Just don't run out. And one more thing. If you want to regenerate stamina quickly, you can do a crouch and then it restores for some reason. I don't know if that's intended or not, but it's been a thing in the game for a while now. If you want to run away from people, it's important to do this, because if they don't know how to do it, they're gonna run out of stamina and they won't be able to catch up to you. Okay, so poise. So poise it's pretty important when the opponent has a dagger or a rapier. And rapiers are kind of the defining part of this, because like the reason you want poise is because if you don't, then I can just roll catch you forever. Like you've seen, I have a video on it. I did R2, and then I did R1, and then running R2, and then I did running R2 again, and then I did R2. Rapiers are the problem, because rapiers are really fast. Rapiers do 71 poise damage when two-handed. The clean rot rapier is really long. Rapiers are really fast. You shouldn't do this. It doesn't have a whole lot of hit stun. But anyway, poise. This guy, the Pallydan here, has 81 poise. That's enough to tank a two-handed rapier. It's also enough to tank two-handed straight swords, or spears, or katanas, or I don't remember the other. But anyway, okay, first let's poise break. So poise, you saw I hit him with one sword. It broke his poise right there. But if I do it again, it doesn't happen. And if I do it again, it happens. Now honestly, I thought it wouldn't happen at that point, but I forgot this is 56 poise damage. So I can do an L1, and he's not gonna care, because he has 81 poise with the Bull Goat's Talisman on, which is also important. And so this is supposed to be the offense category. If you're trying to be offensive with poise, then you know, like, let's break his poise. So you know this L1 isn't gonna break your poise. So what you do is you do not care and hit them. Right? So that's how you use poise offensively. Alternatively, like, you can't do it to a straight sword because it's too fast, but sometimes you could just go around and backstep because they swung at you. Like, maybe we could still do that. Let's find out. Yeah, you can still do that. Now, you could have recovered from that before I did it. So, you can't really do that, but the fact is, if they're spamming into you, then you could probably do it. So yeah, that's poise. Poise is important. If you're not going to use poise, you need an alternative. And there's not really any alternatives other than maybe using a shield to block, or Endure, which only lasts 3.5 seconds. It really got way too buffed. It was too strong for a while, but there's really not an alternative. Oh, hyper armor. Hyper armor is an alternative. So like this is a great axe. It has hyper armor on its R1s. Oh, and also enemy poise. So we know that hold on. We know that this isn't enough to break their poise after I hit them, right? You can tell at a glance sometimes. You're like, oh, this guy looks tanky. Like, check him out. Oh, this guy looks like he's wearing a lot of armor. He's got Beast Champion legs. Like, for me, I memorized everything. This is the Beast Champion legs, the Royal Knight chest piece, Lionel's gauntlets, and the Cuckoo Knight helmet. And then I've got Radon's leggings, the Mausoleum surcoat, Crucible gauntlets, and the Banished Knight helmet, unaltered. So, this guy's got 81 poise. Like, look, we know that he can tank a straight sword. That means he has more than 56. Now, usually if someone can't take anything, they don't have the Bullgoat's Talisman on. And most players, if you're invading at a moderate level of maybe like 70, 70 is a really safe spot to say, it's not too high, it's not too low. So, we know this guy can tank our straight sword. Let's try two-handing. And then, they can't tank it at all. They can't tank it. It's just 88 poise breakpoint, right? So sometimes, you gotta have 88 poise if you want to tank two-handed stuff. Now, anyway. The poise rework is kind of a little not sure how to feel about it. Or you can be like, oh, I know, I'll try jump attacks. And then jump attacks work, right? Because jump attacks do more poise damage. So you do the jump attack, you try something else. You can't just do R1 because they're gonna armor through it. So next up is damage taken and dealt. So, you see, sometimes you'll be trading like this. And you think, huh, I did 298, my health bar didn't go down all that much. Okay, let's just keep mashing into each other. Oh, and mine apparently wins that confrontation, but the point is, you need to make sure you're not going to die in like 2 hits. You need to keep your health at a comfortable level. See, right now, technically we're at a comfortable level of health. We don't want to heal yet, because that would be a waste of healing. Fortunately, we also have a little bit of regeneration, and I have it on right now. But the point is, you don't want to waste your flask, because you only have so many of those. You want to make sure you use it at the right time. So you gotta think, how much damage is this guy doing to me? And look, it's not a whole lot. But then, they hit you with the wave of darkness, and suddenly you're like, oh damn, my health bar, what happened? And you gotta be aware of that. You gotta think, can I survive 12,000 points of damage? If I get hit by this, am I going to die? You need to think about that. Or you need to think, huh, if I hit them with my super high damage thing, if I just hit them one more time with something like that, they'll die. But you know, if you hit them with just an R1, they're not going to die. Right? You just gotta keep that in mind. You just gotta plan it out, you gotta think, you know what? I can't win yet, I have to back off. Or, I can win right here if I can just hit them with my strong attack. Or, I can survive another hit. As long as they don't hit me with something crazy. And it looks like they're just spamming running attacks, because they're trying to roll catch me, so you just gotta think about it. Okay, now there's heal punishing. Okay, so heals, I need to do it the other way. Because this guy is more. So healing, you can move while healing, right? So you can be all la 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 la, and then they get thrown up and backstep. But the problem with Elden Ring is, let's see, you heal, and then you turn around, and suddenly the backstab doesn't work at all. Because that's how backstabs work. If you turn around, it's like client-based. It doesn't happen. Now, you can't rely on this every time, but this is a really good connection, because it is literally myself, so. every single time, this backstab is not going to work if you just turn around. So, you can't be punishing heals with a backstab every time. You gotta do it some other ways. So, let's say your opponent's healing, right? You gotta be ready. Let's say they healed from, like, over here. Like, this far away. So, and then I just do a jumping attack. And I punish that, see? You gotta realize what's the best way to get over there. You gotta be ready. You gotta be ready for that. You gotta go, be all like, jump attack. It's important because it happens. And if you can punish their heal, and you can do like 800 damage, you just made their heal not matter. The fact is, you need to be able to do that. You don't have to, but like it's really helpful if you're invading. So, what's next? Applying pressure and mind games. Okay, so let's say your stamina runs out when you're roll catching, right? So you're all la 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 la, you're all woof, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and then you're running out of stamina. So you gotta think, you gotta like roll catch, but you can't hit them again. You're like, oh damn it, if I just had a little more stamina, I'd be able to kill them. So in that case, you gotta back off, and then you gotta think, and that's not really a mind game or anything, but the fact is, that's a stamina management, so you gotta be careful of that. So mind games. So let's say you roll out an attack. Like, your opponent is approaching you, you gotta think about it, you stab them in the face, and apparently the netcode's not as good as we thought it was. But the fact is, you throw out an attack, and hopefully the netcode is good enough to actually, like, think and stab them in the face, right? So let's say your opponent throws out an attack, like that. So you stop, and then you hit them, right? Or you throw out an attack. You stop, they roll, and then you predict that they're going to roll, and then you punish their roll. So, throw out attack, stop in front of it, roll away, and then punish the roll. It's not gonna look like that, but that's the idea. That's what mind games are, and sometimes you can just crouch, and your opponent knows, oh, you have a rolling attack, which is pretty fast. Maybe not with this weapon, but let's say we got the dagger out, and then the dagger's all like stab. Right? Or maybe let's say you're running after them, and this happens a lot. You see someone like spamming the block with their weapon. They're like, I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna get you. And then that's also mind games. Or maybe let's say you have a charged attack, and you're like, okay, I've been doing the projectile, I'm gonna throw out the normal one. And you're like, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's not gonna work. But it is part of mind games. It's just, there's a lot of things that are a part of mind games. Okay. So, when to run and when to walk. You know, if your opponent... I think I got it. So if more than one person is chasing after you, right? You're running away. You're trying your best to get away from them. Some of them start doing attacks, which require you to focus. And you're worried you won't be able to get that roll at the right time. So normally, this is more of a skill in the other Souls games, because if you accidentally push the roll button while running, you'd get a jump. You'd be all like boing, and then you'd take a whole lot more counter damage. But in this one, it's really just a focus thing. Because if you're holding the circle button, you can't do a roll because you have to push the circle button to roll. Like if you're running, you have to hold circle. If you want to roll, you gotta let go and push circle. You can do that pretty fast, but the idea is, if you're not doing that, then you can do it a lot easier if you're not holding it down. It's like the opponent is chasing after you, you're like, oh, I gotta get away, he's gonna get me. And then you're like, I gotta roll because they're attacking. And you're like, oh no. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get you. So it's just something where you gotta think about it. But if you're going on the offense, you gotta think the other way. You gotta be ready to react to them. Because like you're approaching, if you get a certain distance to the opponent, they're gonna be able to hit you, right? So you gotta be careful of that. You can stop running because you predict that they're going to attack you, and then you can punish that. Well, and then punch them, you know? Okay, what's next? Put jumps into your offense. Right. So not a lot of people do this. But yeah, you can do like a jump, and you can jump over stuff, see? Like, it's pretty forgiving even. You can put jumps into your offense. You can like jump pretty far and hit them. Just, if they're healing from a distance, we showed this earlier, but you gotta do jump attacks. It's important to think about, but it's hard because you know you got crouch attacks, you got R1, you got R2, you got charged R2, you got backstep R1, you got crouch R1 running attack, crouch R2 running attack, you got R1 running attack, R2 running attack, R1 jumping attack, R2 jumping attack. And there's all these different things to think about. And then you got the L1 button, and if you got a weapon in your left hand, then you got your L1 punching attack, which is different from your R1, even if you're doing, like if you're doing an L1, R1, you gotta think about that. There's just a lot of things to think about. But the point is, you gotta put jumps into your attack plan. You can even think, okay, my opponent has a horizontally swinging attack. I can maybe jump over that. Right? Okay. Can I do this one? Yeah, you can jump over. How late can I do it? Oh, it's pretty late. Ouch. Yeah, it's not that late. Okay. So it's connection dependent, but the point is you can just do that. Okay. Juggle. Okay, I can't really show you juggling opponents. Maybe I have some footage that I can just plop onto the screen real quick. I'm sure I've done it before. So basically, juggling opponents is, if there's more than one opponent, you have to make sure that you keep both of them on the screen at the same time. This one's really important. You need to know what they're doing, or you can't avoid it. Someone's gonna sneak up behind you and smack you because you're focused on one. And they're like, I'll save you! And they run up and smack you in the back of the head. So you gotta think about that. You gotta think, okay, I'm applying pressure to this guy's going on the defensive by rolling away now, which means the other guy's going on the offensive, and I need to stop them from hitting me because I have limited resources. So I need to turn around and be like, aha, I knew you would do that, and smack them in the face before they smack me in the back, okay? It's really simple, but it's really difficult to do. You gotta keep them in your field of view. Everybody, you gotta think, this guy's on the offense, that means this guy's on the defense. This guy's on the defense, that means this guy's on the offense. You need to switch back and forth between them. And if they're both on the offense, then you gotta get out of there. You gotta be like, okay, what can I do to get one guy to go on defense? This guy doesn't respect me at all. He knows he's not gonna die from this attack. I need to hit them with something that'll keep them off of me. Okay, that's it for offense. Next up is the defense. So defense, stamina management. I was telling you earlier, I already said it really. When you're running away, you gotta think, okay, people are attacking me, I gotta roll away at the right time, which means I can't run because I need to let go of the run button so that I can roll. And that's it for stamina management. So there's also the blocking, you know. You can block with your fists, you really shouldn't, but if you do, your stamina gets a good chunk taken out of it. You gotta be careful about that. You don't want to get guard broken. Because if you get guard broken, and then they stab you again, if you get guard broken, then you're just gonna die, you know? You don't want that to happen to you. Level health. Okay. I want you to have two chugs gets you to full health at least. Keeping your cool. So don't panic. I told you about panic rolling when you're just mashing circle. This is not something you should ever be doing. And that's kind of a lie. Sometimes you just have to keep rolling because there's nothing else you can do. There's so many things on screen, there isn't a whole lot you can think about. You can be like ultra instinct and you can be trying to dodge everything as it happens, but the fact is, you can't do that every time, and sometimes you gotta panic roll, but the fact is, panic rolling's not a good thing to do. Don't mash the button. Do it timed. Like, put some delay in between it. Make sure that you're not gonna get roll caught. Try to run away instead of rolling. You know, sometimes you're outspacing the opponent. You need to make sure that you keep a certain distance. So see, I'm not gonna hit them. You don't need to panic. But then they get hit by the tip, and then it's like, oh no, I got hit. And then you're like, aha, I hit you. It's time to apply pressure. And then you just start roll catching them, and it's like, oh man, I've lost so much health because I was panicking right there. And you can't let that happen. You got to keep your cool. Watch your health bar, be aware of damage taken. So again, we were showing this off earlier. If you get hit, you see how much health you lost. But then you get hit by this. Okay, not that. You get hit by this, and you're like, oh, that kind of hurt a little. And then suddenly comes the giant hammer, and you're like, oh no, there goes all my health. And you just gotta think about it. You gotta keep that in mind. You see, you saw me go silent. I was like, I'm gonna die if this last hit hits me. I better keep my cool and roll away from it, because it'll mess up the recording. Yeah. So next up is strafe through enemy spells. So this is just, it's really just a thing I like to do, but it is probably a good idea. I don't actually know all that well. Let's see. So let's say the opponent is all pew, pew, pew. So then you just kind of go like this as you approach them. You can't do it with everything, but the idea is you can strafe through spells. And you can do it with a lot of them. And of course, the connection has to be good. If you're not feeling confident, you saw I got hit by that first one, don't try to do it. But if you can, it is a really good way to stamina management. And you saw I wasn't even running, because I'm just demonstrating and I don't have enough fingers to be able to do that on both controllers at the same time. But the idea is you can strafe through spells if they're like basic projectiles like that one. You can't do that with lightning. Don't strafe through lightning. Okay. Keep enemies in your line of sight. Don't guess. Right. Now, I already told you about this because it's really important. If you don't see your opponent, then you don't know what they're doing. You don't know that they're gonna hit you with a jump attack. You don't know that they're gonna shoot you with a laser beam. You don't know that they're throwing a freezing bot at you, right? Damn. You need to be able to know where the opponent is. You need to keep them in your line of sight. You need to make sure you know what state of that they're in offense or defense. Okay. And the last one is learn the sound cues. So, just because you can't see them, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't know what's happening, right? So, hold on. So let's say you hear this, right? So you might not know what that sound was, but if you played a whole lot and you've heard it before, that's a starlight shard. So someone, if you hear that, my personal thought is like, wow, someone is really trying to kill me if they used a limited resource. Now when I do it, I'm like, yeah, I have like 600 of these. I really don't care, but it's so if you hear, then you know to roll. But if you hear, and you're like, oh no, what was that? He's doing a charge. So yeah, and then you might hear, and then And so yeah. Or maybe you hear, you're like, whoa, oh no, I couldn't tell what that was because other things sound like that. Yeah. You can't always know, but the idea is sound cues. Like, you can even hear it on weapons. You can hear them go woof. Like, listen. Like, listen. You hear the whiff. So you know, this is a big weapon. So say you're doing it, like, off in some other area. Oh, my controller? Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's say you hear... So you know that's a big weapon. It sounds like a blunt weapon. Someone is fighting something, and they're using a big hammer. Right? That's what the idea is. For sound cues. And you know, this is a regeneration spell. It makes that noise. Or maybe you hear, and you know that that's an incantation, because it made the incantation noise. Stuff like that. Okay, next up is build making. I've pretty much told you all about combat now. A lot of it is just experience. Like, you need to know by trial and error how far away you can stand before you get hit, or how far away you can stand in order to hit someone, right? Or how much damage you do is something you just have to find out, because people have different defense values. Like, say if I just threw on Marika's Source Seal real quick, suddenly we take 283, when earlier we were taking 256. Now that's not a whole lot more, but the fact is, it's more. And in fact, 20 more damage used to be, and probably still is, a whole lot more damage. You do a jumping R2 and you take 361. It's something you gotta test. It's something you find out as you go on. So, build making. There's a lot of numbers to think about when it comes to build making. Okay? Let's do something silly. So anyway, there are a lot of numbers here. You've got your level, which defines everything else. You want to shoot for a level that feels comfortable. Personally, I shoot for levels to interact with other players and to limit myself. If you feel comfortable being level 200 on every single one of your characters, that is entirely up to you. You can do that. If you want to help people out at level 33 and you want to make the most powerful build you possibly can, you are free to do that. These are things that are possible in the game, and you should feel like it's okay to do them. Now, if I invade you, and you are solo, and I choose not to interact with you because of it, that is both of our faults, and we are both free to do that, and we can disagree that that's fun, but it's still gonna happen. Okay, so the most important stat, and the first stat we're gonna talk about, is your vigor. If you're making a low-level character, having a lot of health is going to make you feel like you're cheating. Is going to make it seem like you're cheating, like you're twinking on people. People are going to actively yell at you for being very powerful and hard to kill, and it's going to be because you have a lot of health. And if more people did that, maybe they wouldn't complain about it so much. I get that you don't want to, that you want to use cool weapons, but you gotta level your health at the very least to like 1500, I would say. 1450, you gotta get 40 vigor. And I really recommend, let me show you real quick on the map, that I can't go into because we're in combat. Okay, Red, get out of here, you're the problem. You're making this game unplayable for everyone. You need to go. Okay. So the problem was the map. Was the combat. Okay, so on the map, the Crimson Amber Medallion plus nothing is right here. It's right here. It gives you a 7 or 6%. I think it was 6% bonus to your health. Okay? The one I have on, the plus 2, gives you an 8% boost to your health. Like, check it out. We have the other ones. I forgot about that. 1878, 1913. That is a difference of, let's see, 5, 3, 4, so 45. Wait, 48? No, 45. Which is a lot. That is a lot, that's sure. The fact is, if you don't have it at all, 1772. That's 106 hit points. 1878, 1772, that's 106 hit points. That's a lot. This is a lot. 45, that's a lot. And right here, 1896, 1913, let's see. 27. 27! That's a lot! That's an entire level! Or it would have been, if we weren't at 50 vigor already. It's a lot of health, okay? Put this on. The +1 version is kind of hard to get. I think it's all the way in Volcano Manor or around it. And the +2 version is at the end of the game. You're not going to get that one anytime soon. I understand. But the fact is, this is 100 hit points for me, and it's not even the best one. Like 106 hit points. 106 plus 45. 151? Yeah, 151 hit points. That's a lot! Now, in the previous games, you could say the life ring +3 wasn't such a good idea because defense was important. But the thing is, in Dark Souls 3, you didn't need the Havel's ring, you didn't have poise, and you were wearing the Ring of Favor already. So you had 2 free ring slots. What are you going to put in them? Right? Because you didn't need light roll, you didn't need like all this armor. You could use it, you could definitely do that, but the fact is, what are you gonna put there? Right? In this one, you don't have that. In this one, you gotta wear all this, which means you can't also have defense. You can't, like, we're already getting enough defense from the armor. Something like the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman gets nerfed in PvP. It's only a 5% boost. Now that's still something, which is why I'm thinking, that could be pretty useful. And then you run into a wizard who does not care. So you're like, that's okay, I have Barrier of Gold, and maybe you're okay with that. Maybe that's cool. And then you run into my lightning build, which does 1,000 damage per hit. So yeah, you gotta think about these things. Health, this is really light, too. And weight is important, otherwise we wouldn't be wearing the Great Jar's Arsenal, we wouldn't have all this other stuff. These are things to consider. It's very difficult to consider, but the fact is, the Crimson Amber Medallion is probably the best choice. See? Now normally my character has on this Great Shield, and it looks like this. So if we switch this out for the Dragon Crest, oh, we're still okay, actually. So you could possibly get away with that. You could put this on, you could put that on. And I've been thinking about it, but I really think health is more generally effective. And it really depends. It's really a head scratcher. I don't know. But health is the easy way to go. at the very least, you need a minimum amount of health. And if you're not at 1700 and doing PvP, like 1700 health, and you're doing PvP, if you're below 1700 health, your build sucks. Alright? This is on top of 1700 health, because I don't know if this is better. That's why I'm doing it. Why are you doing it? Why is your health less than mine without a boost? You think this is helping me? This is giving me like 3%. Look at that. It is a lot on top of what we're already getting. But if I take them both off, what do we get? 1704. Alright? You want to have at least 1700. Very least 1700 health is what I would say. Now 1800 is more preferential, 1900 is amazing, and 2000 is you're good, you got plenty, you can't really get that much more. The most you can have is like 2134. 1700 minimum, okay? I'm gonna drill this into your head. You need 1700 minimum health without any boosts. Unless you're like a super low level of like 50. In which case, refer to my level 55 who has 2020 health. And feels like they're cheating and constantly gets people complaining that I'm a twink. Okay, so next up is mind. We spent a lot of time talking about vigor. I'm probably not going to do that for all these stats, but next up is mind. So mind, you can see I have not leveled it up at all, and I am using a couple of spells. Now you see the reason because of that is, as an invader, you have to split your resources of your Cerulean Flask and your Crimson Flask. So your Crimson Flask is infinitely more important because it allows you to heal, which means you won't die, which means you need health. But if you're getting mind, if you're using a magic character, which I do have, and I might as well show you. Q to transition to magic character. Okay, so on your magic character, you've got all these spells you want to use, right? Now you can see here I have 1450 health. I'm telling you the absolute minimum you can have is 40 vigor. I said that first, before I told you that 1700 was a good idea. 1450, if you can do a ton of damage in a single hit, is okay. But then you gotta not get hit, you know? This is essentially supposed to be a glass cannon. That means I'm supposed to die in one hit. Now the thing is, Elden Ring makes that kind of hard. Which is funny, because I do it all the time. But anyway. This is why you need a level health. I'm going to keep saying that. So mind, you see I have 20. I have 121 FP. The only reason I did that, and the only reason I have that, is because this is a prophet. It's because this is a prophet class, and the prophet class starts with 14 mind. And you know what? I've got Marika's source seal on, which gives me 5 mind. And then I had 1 point more than I wanted to have, so I put it into mind so it would say 20 instead of 19, so that I could have 77 faith when I drink my physic, because I'm level 77 and I just love doing that because it's stupid. Okay. So 20 mind, it looked nice, so I have 20 mind. But also, it lets me use Golden Vow, Barrier of Gold, and Blessing's Boon without running out of focus points. So then I just... And now we're throwing lightning. Right? So I can throw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can throw 6 lightning bolts. And still do a hone bolt. Right? If you can't kill someone in 6 lightning spears, something's wrong. You don't need that much FP. Right? What you need are more Cerulean Flasks. Because now I can throw 6 more lightning spears. I can kill you in 2 home bolts. I really don't need 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, if you're telling me that's not enough for you, there's something wrong. My spell buff is 256. My incantation scaling. I can increase the speed at the cost of lowering the damage if I have to. And I really don't think this is useful. Like, I have a game plan, and we'll talk about that later, but you don't need that much mind. The only reason I have it on this character is because it comes with the build. It was built in like that, and I felt like, you know what? I want to be able to use all my buffs in one sitting. Like, I don't even need the Marika's Source Seal. It's just, it was more beneficial to me to have. And it got me to 77 faith, which is why I did it. That's the only reason. I don't need this mind. It's just convenient. You need to use the low-cost spells. They've been lowering the cost of spells for some reason. If they made Mind give you more than like 6 points per level, then I would say Mind was good. But the fact is, the Cerulean Flask heals you for 200 and something FP. I have 121 at 20 Mind. They gave you more in every other Souls game. In Demon Souls, Dark Souls 3, and this one. They gave us more FP until now, I don't know. I'm really disappointed. I don't like the FP system. I understand it's to reel in the power of being able to spam magic, but the fact is, magic takes stamina, magic takes FP takes away from your healing. That's a fundamental, like, not fun game design, in my opinion. It really, like, my first playthrough, I really need to work on getting uploaded. That's why I always do a magic playthrough first. Or that I did that this time, because I really thought it was gonna be different this time, and it's not. Now, I still adapted, I still made this character because I figured out a way to do it anyway, but the fact is, you can't just throw lightning the same way someone can just pull out their claws and hit you for 5,000 damage. With the right setup. It's more investment to make a wizard at a low level than it is to make anything else, is what I'm saying. Because you have to balance health, FP, and your damage stat. And you're gonna run out eventually, and then you're not gonna have anything. And that's a problem. That's where the problem is. You're gonna run out, and then your build isn't gonna be able to do anything. Okay, so next up is Endurance. Now, let's go back to the other character, because we don't really need this one. Endurance. We switch back over to this character because they have more endurance. It matters more for them. So, endurance is only for equipment load. If you're doing endurance for stamina, you need to put on the Erdtree's Favor. Because honestly, something the Erdtree's Favor does is it gives you more endurance. It gives you quite a bit more endurance. It's a percentage, you know. Let's see. Gives me 11 endurance on this character. Now you could put on the Viridian Amber Medallion, but that's, I don't know. All it does is give you endurance. The thing is, you would want to put on the Erdtree's Favor first, right? Because it also gives you equipment load and health. And in case you didn't know, you should really have health. But the Viridian Amber Medallion, if you really wanted to, if you wanted like some sort of crazy block everything, swing all the time, yeah, I mean, turtle poke, great shield, you know, then you would probably want to go for stamina. You could also do it if you wanted to just spam a spell, like Meteorite's Vastel, something that gets channeled. Erdtree's Favor, Viridian Amber, and of course Radagon's Source Seal, which gives you endurance and strength and all that, but I wouldn't put on a Source Seal at like a high level. Well, anything that's beyond like 50. unless you're already doing all this other crazy stuff. Marika's Source Seal is more like forgiving, if you want it on a character, to do something at a lower level, to do something crazy. Radagon's is just to get you to like an amount of health and endurance. It's more about the health and endurance. Anyway, Erdtree's Favor, it gives you health, stamina, and equipment load, as it says. Which means you would want to do it before you use the Viridian Amber Medallion. Because it's just a little better. It's only like 6 points of stamina difference, and you really don't get that much more stamina per equipment load level. It'd be better to have like faster recovery, because then like every time you have a moment to yourself, you can recover your stamina. You can like put your guard down, recover your stamina, and then go back at it, and then go back at it, and then go back at it, you know. Also, this is not a turtle like poke build, but it is part of the build. It is an option. It doesn't really work. Like 129 stamina is not enough for that anymore. But the fact is, it's an option. If your opponent's using a smaller weapon, this is definitely an option. You know, it really stops pressure. Fortunately, we have kick again, and kick really works. And other than that, we also have what's it? Royal Knight's Resolve, which also increases it increases stamina damage a lot. So it's a better option over kick, because you're more likely to actually hit someone with a weapon than the kick. It's just the kick is completely free, but it takes a lot longer to do, and it doesn't go as far, and it doesn't have any armor. It's things to think about. So endurance, you want it for equipment load. You don't really want it for stamina unless, as I said. So, on that note, how much endurance do you need? Well, I would say, personally, unless you're going for light roll, which you really shouldn't as an invader because you need to be aggressive, and light roll is more of a defensive thing, and you can just get it for free using the windy cracked crystal tier. Is it windy cracked, or is it just windy crystal? The winged crystal. Winged crystal tier. See, the windy one, not so much. It's the winged crystal tier, which is kind of interesting to think, because this one is the one that says it enhances dodge rolls. But this just gives you more iframes. But it really tanks your defense. It really tanks your defense. I don't know how good this is. So anyway, endurance. You get it to 23. You put on Great Jar's Arsenal if you want more. You get endurance to the amount that you need to wear everything and get to over here. You get to equipment load of medium. In order to do that, the first thing you should do is put on the Great Jar's Arsenal, because it gives you a lot. It gives you a lot of equipment load. Way more than what Erdtree's Favor does. Which means it can save you a whole lot of points in endurance so that you can put it into health. Or anything. I prefer health. After that, you should put on the Erdtree's Favor, but there's like a sweet spot where you should do that. And it's on this character. The idea is, do I want more 5 points in something I'm already leveling up from one of the heirlooms, or can I put that many points into endurance? And the question is, will the Erdtree's Favor save you enough points from endurance to not wear one of these heirlooms instead, which gives you +5 to one of these stats that you're leveling up for damage, or to get a weapon requirement, you know? So you have to compare these. So Erdtree's Favor gives you a little bit of health. It's really not worth it, like ever. As you can see, it's only giving me like 63, I think. 73? Excuse me. Yeah, 73. Which is it's a lot. That's true. But the idea is, if you can save 5 levels by putting on an heirloom, then you can put those 5 levels into endurance, and then put the rest into vigor. And if you put them into vigor, then your health might be higher than it would if you put on the Erdtree's Favor. So that's what you have to think about when you're putting on Erdtree's Favor. Is an heirloom better? Because that stamina is not worth it. The health might be worth it. The equipment load is probably not worth it. So you gotta think. And usually the sweet spot for me is when I get to over 20 endurance required on a character. At that point, I might have to put on Erdtree's Favor. I have to consider it. If this gets me below a certain amount of endurance, then I can I can put the Erdtree's Favor on instead of the Star Scourge heirloom and have just 30-something strength. Also, it's 31 on this character because I had 1 point left over, and there is no reason to put it anywhere else. I could have put it into Faith, and then I could use Dragon Bolt Blessing, but there's really no point in doing that, because Dragon Bolt Blessing kind of sucks, except on really niche, moments. Because it doesn't give you any poise, so really all that happens is it returns people to neutral, but it doesn't actually, there's options. It does some interesting things, but anyway, 21 Faith is not really amazing. 31 Strength is a little bit better because Strength gets doubled. We'll get to that. In fact, that's next. So Endurance, you gotta consider how much do you need. It's just for the equipment load. The stamina is really niche. You could probably get away with base stamina if you really had to, but the fact is you don't, because you're gonna be leveling up your Endurance so that you can wear all your stuff, so that you can have Poise. And a good Poise amount to be at is 88. We'll talk about that later. 81 is what I shoot for. It's like a really good spot. 71 is the minimum. We'll talk about it later. Anyway, next up is Strength. So this is a Strength sort of character. I'll cut that up. So Strength, personally, I think Strength is better than Dexterity in a lot of aspects. But we'll talk about that after we talk about both of them. So, for right now, Strength. The good thing about Strength is it gives you a little bit more flat physical damage negation. Or not damage negation, defense. It is just straight up defense. Over here, the one on the left, it gives you more of this than other stats do. It's not a whole lot more, but the fact is, it does give you more. And it was really good in Dark Souls 3 because of that. And people didn't really catch on to that for a good while. They did catch on that elemental damage was kind of a little bit better, but this is Elden Ring. Let's see. So the best part about Strength is that it doesn't double, it multiplies by half, like 1.5. So you see it says 31, but when you two-hand, it's actually treated as if it's 46. It doesn't round up. It rounds down. So this 1 point isn't really doing me all that much. Honestly, I should probably put it somewhere else, but there's not really all that many other places, and it's still better to have that strength. The only reason to level strength is to get more damage, right? Get more damage out of something, but the thing is you can just infuse whatever with heavy. Like, you can just get a clean rot rapier, which honestly scales really well with strength, and you can infuse it with strength. And you see over here, its damage is, I guess 307. But when you two-hand it, it goes up to 343. Like, it's just amazing to two-hand. If you can get, like, this is the thing. When people tell me they're making a strength build, I don't know what they mean. Because this is a strength build, this is a strength build, this is a strength build, this is a strength build. Which part is
unique to strength over dexterity. Like, you're gonna be two-handing. That's what a strength build means to me. It means you're gonna use a two-handed weapon, which you should. Two-handed weapons have been buffed in this patch because they do more poise damage. But this is a rapier, and this is a strength rapier. It scales with strength better than dexterity. This is a strength build. That's what I'm saying. So, like, strength is good. And, the only downside is you have to two-hand. And, yes, having two weapons instead of just one is going to increase your damage output. Because you're hitting people with two weapons. And both of those weapons can have good scaling. Right? But the fact is, you don't get that strength bonus. So at lower levels, the strength bonus is really nice to have. And even after that, you can get your damage to a pretty respectable level with strength, like good scaling strength weapons for less investment, which means you can put those other points into other things, like health. Anyway, so that's strength. Next is dexterity. So for dexterity, you'd probably get something like a katana or maybe a claymore. You know, there's options. The Zweihander is actually more of a dexterity scaling colossal sword, which is probably why it's lighter, and it's like that. And then rapiers are typically considered dexterity weapons. You know, you get a curved sword. Curved sword's definitely strength. Not the way that I use it, but the fact is, curved swords are nice when you have two of them. Curved swords are fast. Curved swords do curved sword things, so you have two curved swords, you want to do the attacks where, you know, it goes woo. They're fast, they do some good damage, but you can still have, like, a dexterity thing that's two-handed. You'd probably just, at that point, it doesn't really matter that it's a dex weapon, you know? But you can still get some stuff off of that. It's just there's not really that much of a reason to two-hand when you're using a dexterity weapon. But anyway, dexterity, in my opinion, is mostly gatekeeping you from using certain weapons on your build. Because you can meet a strength requirement by two-handing. But if you want to meet a dexterity, if you have to meet a dexterity requirement, you have to meet that dexterity requirement. You do not get to use the Bolt of Grand Sacks unless you meet the 40 dexterity requirement. So in that case, you have to make it a dex character. So dexterity is gatekeeping you from using weapons. And you know what? I think it's doing it pretty well. Because it makes it really hard to use the Death Ritual Spear for some reason. So, dexterity weapons mainly are like lighter weapons, but you can force heavier weapons to do it too. It's just not as likely to work out. It's just not as likely to work out because I don't know. I really don't know. Dexterity is just not all that great. You'd have to specifically use a weapon that requires a whole lot of dexterity in order for it to be great. Like, it's just gatekeeping you. It's just stopping you from using cool weapons. Like, there's really no other reason to have dexterity until something has an absurdly high dexterity requirement. Like, I don't even know why they put it on this one. I was looking for Hand of Millennia, and I went too far, I think. See, because you can't use the Hand of Millennia, it has to be a dex build. Which is not to say that dexterity doesn't have good scaling. I just really don't know how well it is, because I don't really make dexterity characters. Because dexterity is just stopping me from using them now. I have a Hand of Millennia build. It's just... the Hand of Millennia is just a katana. There's other katanas. They are kind of dexterity weapons, but not really the rivers of blood. Like the meteoric ore blade is a strength weapon. You're gonna be two-handing katanas for the most part. No, I don't. I one-hand it. So basically, if you want to one-hand a weapon or power stance, make a dexterity character. It's better at doing that than strength is. But it's really just, it's stopping you from using cool weapons. And it doesn't give you any other bonus unless you're using magic, which it boosts the casting speed. But you need like 70 effective dexterity in order to get max cast speed. So it's a lot easier to just reach that using Radagon's icon and Azur's staff. Okay, so now that we've talked about both strength and dexterity, so strength is just better. Strength you can two-hand, and it's better. But dexterity you can one-hand, and then you can have power stancing, and then that works too. But with strength you can do the same thing, it's just not as effective, because strength really wants to two-hand. Because when you're two-handing, you get that 1.5 times boost. But dexterity doesn't actually benefit you as much as strength would. You can still use 2 strength spears. Strength scaling spears. Like, just, it doesn't have to be dexterity. Now, clearly the spears don't want to be strength scaling. As you can see, all of them have something not so great in strength. But a lot of them say D. And you can infuse one of them and force it to be a heavy. You know? And it looks like the spike spear might be better for that. Over the cross naginata. It's also lighter, isn't that nice? Usually if something's lighter, though, it's not as strong. These are all unupgraded, so I can't really tell you. Like, a good enough measure. It's just things, they don't require dexterity. Dexterity is just stopping you from using them and forcing you to use dexterity. Because, like, strength gets the 1.5 times bonus as an option. It gets a little bit more defense per level. It's just, it's so nice. So, next is intelligence. So, intelligence is... it kind of forces you to use intelligence, like sorceries. You can't really skimp out on intelligence. You have to have a high amount, or you have to be a low level. My level 33 intelligence build, it has 1 point of intelligence, and it has everything else getting boosted to 25. There's a lot of spells. You know, there's some nice things. You can do some good work with sorceries. Personally, I think sorceries are some of the, like, stronger, like, more likely to do a good amount of damage things, because it's magic damage. But because of that, in response to it, Barrier of Gold exists. Like, a lot. You're gonna see Barrier of Gold. Like, it's specifically... magic is so effective that it has to get countered. So people try to counter it. You know, like, this is kind of a really good counter. And you have to really think. Like, you can't just mindlessly blast someone with sorceries. You gotta think, which one of these is actually gonna be able to go and, like, do something? Which is one of my main problems with using magic, is you can't use magic on its own and win because it's finite. Not because it's not going to hit anyone, not because it doesn't do a lot of damage, but because it's finite. You get a couple of tries. Or you have to rely on something that costs next to nothing and isn't really magic because you have to get close to them. So in that regard, there isn't actually any real projectile or, like, magic that you can just spam forever and it'll get them eventually. Which makes sense. It's just... why? Like, that doesn't diversify the play. It just restricts magic to not being on the same level as other things. It forces me to include a melee weapon, and maybe that's the point. You can include a melee weapon on a magic character. You can infuse it with magic, or it can just be one of those ones that goes really well with magic, you know? One of those that just goes pew like that. And at that point, why am I using magic again? Why don't I just use the weapon? The weapon is doing all the work. Because that's what I did on that other character I was showing you, the Elaim Pallydan. That one is like, you know what? Why am I using magic? It doesn't do enough damage at this amount of intelligence. I'm just gonna use the Glintstone Crest, and it's gonna do like 400 damage, and that's pretty sweet. So yeah, intelligence, it's fun, but the problem is you have to focus on it. You have to get it to like 50, and then you gotta get it all sorts of buffs, and then it becomes worthwhile because it's finite. If it wasn't finite, then you could use it a whole lot more, and then the extra investment so that it does a reasonable amount of damage so that you can kill things before you run out wouldn't matter. So that's the problem. It's going to run out. I don't care how much FP you have. I don't care how many heals you have. It's going to run out. And when it runs out, and you don't have your friend to protect you for a moment, to get your FP back, you're just screwed. You're gonna get roll caught to death. Okay, so up next is Faith. So Faith is kind of the same thing, but Faith also has all the buffs. Faith has Golden Vow, which the incantation lasts for 3 minutes. It gives you a bigger boost than the Ash of War. It's really nice to have. It just boosts all damage. It's just really good. And then Barrier of Gold. 72% magic resistance. Screw magic users flipping you off, even though I definitely would never do that. And then we have the regeneration. Always nice to have regeneration, only 12 faith. And look, it stacks with everything else. Isn't that nice? We have the utility spells. Like, it's just faith. Faith is just more fun, in my opinion. Like, there isn't really anything like that in intelligence. Like, we have Eternal Darkness, but, like, Fia's Mist. I really want to see someone just use Fia's Mist aggressively. I feel like it would work, you know? Different wind condition, proc Deathblight. It's just, there aren't really any utility sorceries, other than a couple of those. And you could say Law of Regression is a utility sorcery, because it requires intelligence. It casts from a seal. That's another equipment slot you gotta think about. Like, you're not really going to think about it too hard, but the fact is you gotta think about it. And then, like, there's just so many, like, utilities, and then there's, like, these cool, holy, like, physical things, rings, lightning. It has more diverse elements. They included fire in Faith now. And there's so many different types of fire. I'm not saying that magic doesn't have cold and, like, fire and physical stuff and blood, but, like, the incantation ones are better. They're just straight up better. Like Giant's Flame Take Thee, Fortisax's Lightning Spear, Death Lightning. Everything is just, it's so nice. But the really nice, like, fun ones require a lot of faith. So there is that. The int ones are actually pretty low int requirement. Like 26. 20, 32. That's still not that bad. 36, 38. You know, you're gonna have 40 if you're gonna make an int build. At the very least, you're gonna have 40. And you can use most of these spells with just 40 intelligence, so there is that. Incantations require you to invest a whole lot more into them. Now, heals kind of suck. Or tree heal, that kind of sucks. You need, like, specifically faith. You need the seal to use faith scaling, and then it heals you for how much the faith is scaling the incantation for. It's not like, I don't know. Heals kind of suck. You need to be a really high level before they start doing anything crazy. Unlike in Dark Souls 3, which really sucks. I kind of wanted to use med heal. It's disappointing, but fortunately the regenerations are really good. I wouldn't use Blessing's Boon, I would just use Bestial Vitality. Regeneration is good. All sorts of faith things are really nice. I wouldn't say any of this is nice, but it's okay. The frenzy things are good, the dragon stuff is good, the black flame stuff is, oh, well, it has its uses. The giant's flame stuff is good, the dragon stuff is good, the discs of light are okay, they're not amazing. Black Blade has armor, Elden Stars is crazy, aspects of the Crucible, they could be better, but they're okay. And we have all these barriers, all these heals, as I'm saying, it's just... Okay, it was called Great Heal. It's just Great Heal's not all that great. It needs to heal for like at least 600. It needs to heal for at least 600. And then you got your faith weapons. Your faith weapons are cool. You got all these cool faith weapons, actually. You get like a lot of things. The black knife is a faith weapon. You got a couple of int weapons. We actually got some int weapons, and I feel good about that. A lot of them are like Dex int, and we have some strength int, and those are cool. But like these faith weapons, the coated swords, man, the coated swords. So yeah, faith is doing pretty well, and int is doing pretty well. Faith requires. The thing about faith is it requires more investment, technically. Like, it has higher requirements, is what it is. Because once you meet those requirements, the incantation is good. The incantation is good once you meet those requirements. You don't need it any more faith after that. It's good. When it comes to sorceries, you can meet the requirements. The spell's not going to be good yet. You need to have the scaling. And maybe this is the fault of staves. They don't scale well enough. And I would definitely say that's a problem with the Gelmir Glintstone staff. It doesn't scale as well as the Golden Order seal. For some reason. It's like 40 incantation difference on my Magnum Opus character, which has more intelligence than faith, I might add. At 38-28. But the thing is, sorceries are good, they're just not good when you meet the requirements, they're good when you are a sorcery character. You have to really invest into them. Carrion Slicer is always good, though. And Piercer's fun. I don't think it's good, it's fun. Because you can react to that. It's not going to be every time, but the fact is you can react to that. Loretta's Great Bow, it's too slow. The cast animation is too slow, it takes too long. It would be amazing because it reaches as far as it reaches a little further than Frenzied Burst. It's just you can't speed it up. You can't, because it has to do the whole cast animation. And then it does the charging, and then it does a fire. The charge doesn't take too long, though. It's just the cast animation. You gotta pull the bow out, it's gotta settle and aim, and then you can fire it. I could talk on and on about sorceries and incantations. I really, like, break them down. I've broken them all down. I love a good lightning spear, but it'll take forever. We need to move on to Arcane. So leveling Arcane. Like, it's always good to have a little bit of faith for the regeneration, you know, like 12 faith. But you don't really need it because you can just put on 2 finger. Anyway, Arcane. Arcane is closely related with blood, but it also works with poison. It doesn't work with rot, and it used to work with madness, but they heavily nerfed that. It doesn't super murder people anymore. Although I haven't really tested, I haven't been super murdered by it, so I'd have to say it's okay now. Other than that, Madness has, Arcane has arcane weapons, which are typically associated with blood. Rot is not part of it, by the way. Rot does not scale with anything, ever. It never has, and it never will. And then it has the Regalia of Yokai, the Executioner's Greatsword, Mariah's Executioner's Sword, and these are all good weapons. All the arcane weapons are good weapons. Like, personally, I love Bloody Helis. It's a really nice, like, heavy thrusting sword. Heavy thrusting swords are kind of dominating from what I hear. Personally, I think they're, like, not as bad as just normal thrusting swords. You can react to it. It's a little difficult, but I feel like it's okay. They should probably take out that true combo. Other than that, you can just infuse something with Arcane if it has innate blood loss buildup. But when it comes to Arcane, if you're gonna do Arcane, you gotta invest in Arcane. You need like 50 Arcane. It's just like strength and dexterity, but it's kind of a little bit more than that. Because it doesn't give you as much damage, I think, than if you did like heavy or keen. At least not at a lower level of like 50 in Arcane. You'd need like 60 or 80. I don't know if it scales up to 80. But heavy and keen, strength and dexterity, those scale up to 80. Strength is easier to meet that if it's using two-handing. Arcane doesn't really do that. Arcane, it has to scale the blood loss, and it has to scale the weapon damage. If you infuse something with occult, you can infuse it with bleed. It gets a lot easier to scale the blood. Arcane is for bleed. But then there's also the bubble spells, which I don't have on this character, but there's also the blood spells, and then there's the blood incantations, and then there's the poison which doesn't really matter. And then there's the seal of, like, using the dragon stuff, and then the dragon stuff scales really well with that. But this isn't a dragon incantation, by the way, that doesn't count. You see how it doesn't have the arcane requirement? That means it doesn't count. I don't really know if that's why, but it's not a dragon incantation. So yeah, Arcane is blood. Also the Mariah's swords. But the Mariah's swords they're not really part of it. They're more of like a suggestion. I'd say they work. They're definitely good. It's just, other than the Ash of War, they're just a sword. The straight sword one probably works pretty well though. Okay, so other than these stats, fashion is more important than anything. You have to look good, or you don't matter. Personally, I think I did pretty good with this character. I like how it looks. Other people seem to appreciate it as well. But one can never really know if you look good or not. You just gotta believe in it. So I like this. This works for me. It does everything I wanted it to do. I'm not really sure about the chest piece, but I need to reach that poise breakpoint, right? I don't know. I don't think any of the other ones really look all that great. It's like, this one looks the best to me. Because it kind of, it doles out. It's kind of got a gold on it right there, but it's not really, which kind of matches the shield. It's all like old. It's kind of blue, which contrasts the red. And I really wanted a red-gold sort of look. And I think I did that with the Crucible and the red-gold scarf on the Banished Knight helm, the Radahn's legs, which are typically gold, but Radahn is known for red, and he's got like the black leg, the under part, the jean looking thing, and, which kind of matches the cape and the everything else. I just say it looks nice. For a while I was using the clean rot armor, which, you know, it seems alright. I just didn't like the white. Like, the white really stands out. It really stands out. Even that red is very vibrant. It really stands out. So I got something that doesn't really stand out as much. And it still gives me, like, I needed something at the bottom. Like, something to flow around at the bottom. You see, like, this doesn't really cover the bottom. Like, the ankles, I guess, where the knees are. This kind of does it. It's alright. It's not amazing. Like, I need something to go down. Kind of like a cape. And I didn't want a cape, though, because the capes really stand out. Right? The capes really flow, and I didn't want that. And I tried without the cape, because the capes also make the scarf, the shoulder thing go away, I guess. Yeah, see? The front part. So I thought, oh, I'll try one of these, but then it doesn't go, like, I don't like the segment part. So then I got this, and I was like, oh, okay. There we go. Yeah, that looks okay. I'm good with that. Yeah, the green is kind of not really what I was going for, but it's dull, and it kind of matches with the aesthetic of the other stuff. Looking, like, kind of old and worn. And then before I had on the, where are they? The foot soldier gauntlets, which, they still look pretty good, don't they? Like, I think it clashes right here, but I think that's always going to happen. And there isn't really a whole lot I can do about that, but apparently this pushes it up. Yeah, that pushed it up. So that made it a little better. And the red, I needed the poise. That's why I really put these on. I needed the poise. I was like, huh, I don't really know. I kind of like how this looks. Oh, we got some more red we could put on. Oh, that's pretty good. We could go with that. And other than that, like for fashion, the weight is kind of important. The weight to poise ratio. So you want to pick your chest piece is probably going to be where most of your poise comes from. Let's talk about poise now, because poise is part of the fashion. So let's talk about poise and fashion at the same time. So your chest piece is where most of your poise comes from. You want to pick a heavier chest piece. So sort everything by weight. Halfway down, these chest pieces are good. Everything from like this one down. You want to get like 20 poise on something. It's not always about weight. Sometimes you have like a little bit of like higher. You'll find something that's light and has decent poise. I think I saw something, yeah, 12. See, this says 12. Compared to everything else around it. Which doesn't. Yeah, but you still want something with like 20. For a chest piece, you want something like 20. And then the helmet, like the chest piece is the most important part. It's going to be the one that defines your character a whole lot. And it really doesn't on this character. Like, a lot of it is covered. Which is interesting. So then the helmet, usually you want a light one. But the heavier you can go, the better, because then you can look cooler by making everything sort of like middle ground. Not at the bottom, wearing like a bull goat. Like for the gauntlets and the leggings, I usually just try to put on one of these at the bottom. One of these like really not so much ones. Like the gauntlets don't matter as much as anything else. They're the part of the fashion to me that no one will ever see. It's still nice to make it match, and it's nice that we have some options, right? Anything down here is usually good, but as I'm saying, gauntlets, really not the important part of the character. The leggings, however, are pretty important. Luckily, we have some options. Again. Not some absolutely amazing options, mind you, but we have some options. So yeah, fashion is really important. But let's talk about poise. So poise, I've got 83 poise. A really good amount to be at is 88 poise, because then you could tank a two-handed katana, is what I would recommend thinking about. Because people are going to be two-handing katanas. Especially, you know, Moonveil. So if someone's two-handing a katana, and you have less than 88 poise, you can't trade with them. If they mash into you, you're getting hit by that, and your attack is getting interrupted. There are exceptions, you know, hyper armor attacks. I think this is hyper armor, so it gets me up to that amount anyway during the attack, but I'm not sure. Other than that, I got a shield. It's a bit safer because it doesn't care about poise. But I still have to be careful, right? So 81 poise is enough to tank power stance stuff, like power stance straight swords, power stance katanas, power stance spears. Those things are all 81 poise breakpoint. Curve swords, power stance curve swords, those two. So 81 is what I usually shoot for, but 76 should be enough to tank a one-handed, was it 76? I always thought 76 was a good amount for a little while. I'm gonna pull up the chart. Okay. That's 68. 76 is for heavy thrusting sword one-handed. Which is still good, right? So 76 lets you tank most one-handed single weapon attacks. And then 81 lets you tank most one-handed power stance attacks that you're probably going to have to worry about. See, the point of poise is to make it so that you don't have to worry about getting pressured by a really fast weapon. You can actually get away from it without guessing as much. Like, you can get hit by it, and you can still keep doing whatever you're doing for one hit. And I think that's pretty good. I think that's where it should be. The problem is, not everyone can do that. Or not everyone wants to do that. It makes it so that you have to have an amount of poise. Now, I'm okay with that. I think that's a good idea, but the problem is I can't wear any of this light stuff. I can't look and put on any of this stuff and feel comfortable doing that because I need to have poise. All this armor is too light. It doesn't give me any poise. If I get hit, then I'm gonna be in trouble. Now, you can't wear any of this because poise exists. You have to care. If someone comes up with a rapier and they just start going stab, 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 then there's nothing you can do about it. And that's why poise is a bad thing. But on that point, two-handed rapier does 70 poise damage. So if you have 71 poise, that is the absolute minimum I would say to go for. 71 poise. Everything else can theoretically be dealt with, but two-handed rapier is too much. It's too oppressive. And I don't think that nerfing rapier is the right way to go, the speed. I think that making everyone able to reach that point where they can deal with rapier a little easier is the way to go. Because as it is, even at max poise, you can't tank 2 hits from a rapier. At 133 poise, that's not enough to tank 140 damage. 2 hits from a two-handed rapier. R1. And it's just the R1 that we really need to think about. Because everything else, the R2s, which are really good by the way, those do a whole lot more poise damage. And they should, is what I'm saying. I think that's okay. The only real problem are the super fast attacks, which is why poise is something that people feel like they need. But that's it. There's still ways to deal with it. Like this has a lot of armor. It can go through that. But, talking about poise still, bleed, frost, sleep, and madness. Madness, not frenzy. Those don't care. Poise doesn't matter to them. And I think that was a really bad idea. But, moving on from that, what's next? Cast speed. Cast speed is not amazing. Like, it's useful. It's really nice to have cast speed. Like, watch. See, that's what it looks like with Radagon's Source Seal. Oh, I gotta reset. Let's just go over here. Okay, so cast speed. This is with Radagon's icon. It's not amazing. It's not so bad, it's not amazing. It's okay. Without it, it's pretty similar, isn't it? Now let's say we also have on the staff, Azur's Glintstone staff. Let's say we had that, and we had the icon. It still looks about the same, doesn't it? Right? It's really not that much of a difference. It really depends. It really depends from spell to spell. Spells being sorceries and incantations. Like, it really depends. And I can't really tell you which one's casting speed is required for. I just say that if it looks like it's helping, go ahead and try it. See if you can deal with not having cast speed. See if you can deal with if you benefit from having cast speed. Because I know with Lightning Spear, I am actually benefiting from putting on the Radagon's icon, but I don't think I'm actually benefiting from having Azur's Glintstone staff. It is max cast speed at that point, but I don't think I need it. I think I just need, like, medium cast speed for Lightning Spear. And everything else is just kind of like, this is nice. It's not amazing, but it's nice. Because it really only matters once you can hit someone with what you're using. And I think it does matter for, like, Carrion Slice or Bestial Sling, Catch Flame. You know, the low-cost spells that you need to blast at people. And it probably matters for Comet and all that, too. I don't think it should. That kind of, spamming those is a little annoying, but it's not like they can do anything else with those, really, so... I miss the days of a good Soul Spear, you know? So other than that, you have to actually hit people, is the next part. You have to actually be able to hit people. You know? Your weapon can be the most powerful weapon in the game. You gotta know how you're gonna hit someone with it. Because, like, this has a lot of wind-up. Like, people get hit by it, sure. But it has a lot of wind-up. This one's a little harder to react to. Which is why I see people using it, I know. Especially since you can turn it and, like, make the hitbox hit sooner. Or later. Depending. But the thing is, you still have to be able to hit people. Like, you can do all this amazing calculations. You can have, like, this ultimate one-shot character. But if you don't hit someone, then your build isn't working. And maybe that's your fault. Maybe it's your fault that you're missing. You know, maybe you're just exclusively using attacks that just at the wrong time. Like, you're just doing this. You're just doing nip, and you're just not hitting anything. I don't know. Like, maybe you need to time it better. Or maybe the weapon just isn't good enough. You know, like, there's a lot of weapons, they're not amazing. They're not amazing. Like, look, this is as fast as the spear. But it doesn't do nearly as much anything. So yeah, you have to be able to hit people. Because Siluria's woe, if that hits someone, that's their fault. And you have to be able to get... Okay, I almost said... You have to be able to get hard and keep going. You have to be able to get hit hard. You have to be able to get hit and keep going. Okay. That's why your health is important. Your poise is important. What you're doing is important. But most importantly, you have to be able to give... You have to predict that you're going to get hit. And then if you're going to get hit, then you might get hit 2 or 3 more times before you can get away. If you're okay with dying from that, if you don't think that's going to happen, you're wrong. But if you're okay with dying from that, that's okay. If you're ready for it, if you're like, my build isn't meant to do that, I don't need to do it, because I wasn't planning on doing it anyway, then that's okay. But if your idea is, I don't need to do that, that's never going to happen, you're wrong. It's going to happen. Okay? You need to plan around that. So next, pre-battle preparation. This one is going to be fun for me. Okay? Because this is something that I think about a whole lot. Let's go back up here. You know, because we're thinking about it right now. Let's set this back down. This whole video has been pre-battle preparation, you know? It's just we've been thinking about this the whole time. Let's get the music back on. The first part is... Let me get this. Quick item setup. Okay, what is this called? Because I don't remember. Oh, is it the pouch? The quick pouch? So your item's on the D-pad, where you're holding triangle, you go into the items. You gotta think. These are your most important things to need right now. Like, you need to be able to access this without pushing all these buttons and figuring out where it is and all that. You need these things right here. Okay? So personally what I do is I put the physic at the top. You can put it at the bottom, the left, or the right. You need the physic in here. Because the physic is going to be a one and done. You technically don't. You could just do this. But that's a couple of clicks that I just am not interested in doing. Because that's like down, right, 2 down, 2 right, start, down, 2, X, right, 2, X, use, and then, yeah, that's a lot. So I just do it as I approach someone. I hold triangle, I push up. Next I have the cerulean flask on here because of the same idea. Down 2, right 1, use flask, like that's a lot of work. It's what I used to do in the other games, but that's because I didn't have the pouch, you know? Now that we have the pouch, let's put things on here. So, the flask is important. The physic is important. Let's put some boluses on here. Or maybe some buff items. You gotta think. What do you need all the time? What would be really nice to have in like 2 clicks? 2 button presses. So personally, I put blood, boluses, and madness, not frenzy, madness bonuses. I really want to call it frenzy because of Bloodborne. which is really weird, but it's my only comparison. And the reason I have those on is because people love to use bleed weapons. People love to use madness weapons. Every now and then I switch out the madness for sleep, because sleep is really powerful too. Frost, in my head, doesn't matter. Rot, I can deal with after a while. I need to get away before I cure it anyway, so it might as well stay over here. Blood is more important, because there's blood flame, there's katanas, there's so many things. Rivers of blood. Madness is important, because it does damage, it takes away your FP, and it stuns you so you get hit again. So make sure that doesn't happen. And sleep is important, but all it really does is stun you and take away your FP. And there's really no counter to it anyway, so being forced to use sleep is going to be annoying if they add anything more. I feel like they should rebalance madness, sleep, poison, and... no, not poison. Bleed and frost, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think that's just how this game works. I'm okay with blood and frost, but sleep and madness feel like that's going a bit too far, and I really hope they don't make it more, like, conventional, convenient, on everything, common. I hope that sleep and madness don't become more common. Like, they are just... being able to force someone to get hit is just obviously something that's bad. Like, you don't even have to think about it. If you can proc madness or sleep, you get a free hit. You just get a free hit. There's no thinking about it. It just works. So, other than that, you want your quick bar. You know, your equipment. Your quick item. These are quick items, okay. So you want your quick items. Personally, I don't like to have any more than 5. And you'll only see 4 here because when you invade, you get the phantom finger. So specifically, I like to limit myself to 5. So that I know 5 downs and I'm at the top again. So usually I just hold. If I'm unsure where I'm at, I just hold it. But yeah, the phantom finger is something you have to build around as an invader, because it forces itself into your inventory. And I don't know how to stop that from happening. And other than that, I don't really mind. Now, anyway, because I've adapted to it. But it's annoying. Because, first off, they don't really work. And second off, they force themselves into your inventory and take up a spot, and they'll get you killed if you get stuck in the animation, because you're fumbling in your quick items, so that's important to think about. So yeah, I keep the red flask at the top. Then I keep something quick that I would like to throw out right here. Usually it's Gravity Stone Fan. You could also put something like a resin buff, a grease buff. Drawstring is what I would prefer if it was going to be right there. But I don't think that greases are any good on anything except for maybe the soporific ones. I feel like they should buff these. All of them. Because most of the elemental buff Ashes of War are just better. Especially because you can actually put them on an infused weapon. And I don't know what they're thinking. There's a lot of items. I like to use freezing pots. Usually in the 3rd slot. Sometimes it's rot pot. It's either freezing or rot. Rot at lower levels because I'm evil. Freezing pot at every other level because it works. And it lowers their defense, which means that my build can do a little bit more damage. And then whatever else at the end. Usually I try to poison people, but in this one we have the Wraith Calling Bell so that I can do the self-parry. I found out you can run along with this and then parry it later. It's actually amazing. It goes really far, but it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. The fact that you can do that, it's awesome. So other than that, inventory sorting. So you see over here in my equipment slot, my right-hand armaments and all that, I have it so that the first slots are now empty. And the reason for that is so that if I invade an AFK farmer, I can go down here I can get my AFK, anti-AFK farmer stuff ready, and then I can just... Because normally what you do is you do this. The hammer here, put this here, switch to that. Two-hand this, and then you gotta switch to this real quick, so that's why I have it like that. So that it's easier to switch that one. So yeah. Because AFK farmers are such an issue, I have to do this now. But also it's just nice, because I know that items are over here, and it makes me use the third slot. You know, I wouldn't ever use the third slot before this. So you need to keep your inventory sorted kind of nice. There's different ways to do it. The most obvious one is to literally change the sorting method to something that's nice. This character has every single weapon in the game, so naturally I had to think, what do I do if I want to use something specific? Oh, I'll just put it at the bottom when I sort by order of acquisition. And then I found out over here in talismans, in order to use Golden Vow and Barrier of Gold, I've got to switch to the Faith talisman. What do I do? Oh, I'll just sort it by weight, and suddenly it's right there. Isn't that convenient? So yeah, those are things you should just think about. And eventually it'll become second nature. It's all muscle memory. It's not something you want to think about after you're already invaded, is what I'm saying. You want to think about it now. You want to plan it out, so that when you're going in, it just flows like a river. It just works. And then there's things you should have available, you know? So things... You can even sort your spells properly. Usually what I do is I put something I'm going to use in a panicked moment, or something that I can always default to as the first spell. So that's why I have Rejection on here. Because Rejection is something I want to have at a moment's notice. So what I can do is I can just hold up, and then suddenly we're over there. At the end of my spell slots, I like to have buffs. And then we have the Blood Flame Blade and Fire's Deadly Sin, because those aren't really supposed to be there. They're just because of AFK farmers anyway. The buffs go at the end, because you're going to cast them once, you're going to restore your FP, and then you're never going to do it again until you get far enough away from the opponent that you're never going to want to get over there anyway. So if you have other spells, you'd put them in between this one, which you want at the front, and the buffs. So that you never accidentally go to the buffs. Okay? And then weapons, you know. Personally, I don't like to switch between weapons. I do not enjoy doing weapon swaps mid-fight. It's not fun for me. It's more interesting if I commit to using the weapon that the build was made for. It's not fun. I will not hate you for doing it yourself. I think it's pretty difficult to do mid-fight, and it really doesn't give you much of an advantage, but that's why I don't like it. It doesn't actually give you much of an advantage. If you wanted to fight me using a specific weapon, and you're going to switch to something else to finish me off, why didn't you just use the best weapon you had the whole time? That's what I think. But it is acceptable. And in that case, you would want something that hits hard and can poise through stuff, and then switch to something that's kind of fast. Not really a straight sword. You'd probably want a rapier. You definitely want a rapier. You know, something that isn't really meant for poise damage, but it's really fast and hard to react to, so it does a decent amount of damage to finish someone off. And other than that, you would want some, like, Ashes of War. And Ashes of War, switching to those, I understand. It's okay. That's totally reasonable. Switching to something specifically to have a different Ash of War, it's okay. Because a lot of weapons are exclusive. They have Ash of Wars that are exclusive to them. And you can't really use them mid-fight because they're not all that good on their own. And they're just Ash of War machines. So I understand that. Okay. So other than that, know your battle plan. What are you trying to do with your character? What is your goal? How are you trying to do it? Right? So I have a great shield. If my opponents are being aggressive, and they're like being stupidly aggressive to the point where it's like they're just swinging at me, I can hold up the great shield and stab them. I can only do it like twice, maybe, but the fact is, this is an option, and they have to respect that. And I'm going to show them, this is just something I can do. I don't need poise. I can just block and stab you. It's only going to work once or twice because of stamina, but I might just pull it out every now and then. Be like, yeah, this is an option. Other than that, if my opponent's using magic, I'm going to try to deflect that. That is fun. If my opponent's not using magic and they're running away, Wraith Calling Bell. Run up behind it, parry it. It's a little easier when you have a target. If they are... Usually I use Gravity Stone fans for wake up, but sometimes I do it to push them away from me. Freezing Pots, if my opponent is within range and they are thinking of healing or I just feel like it, I'll hit them with a Freezing Pot. Suddenly I do a little bit more damage. And usually they take about 200 damage from it too. It's nice. And the first thing that I do, sometimes, is I switch to this and I buff up. I don't always do that because it's a bit of a hassle. But the first thing I always do when I run up to people is use my physic. Your physic is a one-time thing. You've got to make the best of it. And it's a really good way to determine when you are at a big disadvantage or not. Because if your physic runs out, at that moment, you have lost a lot of damage or a lot of defense. You lost a lot of something. This fight has gone on for more than 3 minutes. This is now a problem. You are now in a battle of attrition. It has been cemented as such, and you have to deal with that. So it's like, it's a really good indicator when your buffs are gone. Your fight is lasting too long, and something's wrong. Now, I know that. I know that something's wrong on this character, that there aren't things that just work. It doesn't do enough damage. This character was built to last, not to kill. But, in the possibility that I can kill them very quickly, I put Holy Shrouding Cracked Tier and Strength Knot Crystal Tier in, instead of the Opaline Hard Tier, which would have been really nice, because I don't want to trick myself into thinking that I can take more damage than I really can, even if that would be really nice. My plan is, I'm going to try to kill them the way that I always do, and if it doesn't work, then I have to go for the long haul, and I have to use my superior build making, my extremely high defenses, and all of my resources to defeat them. And I have to outplay them. It's really hard, but it's definitely possible. But the first thing I'm going to try is being on the offense. After that, we have to do a bit of back and forth. So that's what the game plan for this character is. And then other than that, two-hand, get the strength bonus, run up and stab them. If they're unaware of me, I can shoot them with Siluria's Woe. It's fun. And if I really wanted to, I could do this if they're rolling towards me. And it would roll catch them pretty easily, because it has a nice splash. But the R2 kind of sucks. Jumping attacks are not amazing. But they're okay. And the running R2 is just, I don't really do it all that often, because it keeps you locked in it for so long. But it can be nice for, like, a final hit, because it's hard to roll through. Okay. Other than that, learn through experience. I said this way earlier, but learning through experience is one of the most important parts of invading, and just PvPing in general. You have to keep doing it. You can't just win. You can't just, like, have success every time. You're gonna, like, the thing that happened in Halo, it's like, one of these days you're gonna land on something that's just as stubborn as you are. You know, you're gonna run into someone who knows what they're doing. And that's just how it is. That's what's gonna happen. Is you're gonna run into someone who knows what they're doing, who has all these hours in the game. You're gonna run into me, and then you're gonna run into, okay, honestly, I don't know, anyone else who's specifically a whole lot better than I am. But, I know that I'm not all that great. I'm just pretty good, and I know what I'm doing, and I win like 90% of the time, so. You're gonna run into someone who's better than me, and they're gonna kick your butt because they're gonna do all those things I said I didn't like to do. That's what it is. Because I'm not saying I can't do that, I'm saying I don't want to because it's not fun. So let's see, put your spells in a certain order. I already told you about this, but you want to have the one that you want all the time in the front. You want all of your offensive spells in between that, and your buffs at the end. Consider which hand slot to put your weapons in. This is actually pretty interesting, because I'm doing this on my other character that we were testing with earlier. So, the way they have it set up is they have these two weapons, the Glintstone Kriss and the Great Omen Killer Cleaver, in the left hand. And the reason is so that I can have Glintstone Dart without having to two-hand the Kriss. Because I can still two-hand my left-hand weapon and use the Great Omen Killer Cleaver to its full ability. And if I want to shoot someone, I can just switch to the Kriss real quick, just un-two-hand. And I get the full Kriss's moveset. So I can do running R2s that actually are pretty good. You know, I can apply pressure with it. So, like, this is one of those moments where it's like, okay, I have a pretty cool smashy weapon. It's not amazing, but it has an Ash of War on it that's pretty cool. It's not going to be Wild Strikes. As you saw earlier, it was Waves of Darkness. And it really hurts, by the way. So yeah, that's the idea. You can put it in your left hand, so that you can two-hand it, and now it's a right-hand weapon, so that when you un-two-hand it, your right-handed weapon can use its Ash of War. So that's something to think. Which hand do I put this in? Normally you'd just do this. You'd want shield in the left hand, other thing in the right hand. But there are interesting things to think about. Now, it's not going to look all that great because you got a giant hammer in your left hand sticking straight out in a, like, complete parallel. It's not resting on your shoulder because it's super heavy like it should be. But, I mean, I got 31 strength. I'd say I could do that. I don't know. It's just something to think about. And also, you know, like, do you want your seal to be in your left hand? Or do you want it to be in your right hand? You know? Do you want it to be replacing your shield slot for just a moment? Or do you want it to be replacing your weapon slot for just a moment? Do you still want to be able to block? Or do you still want to be able to attack? Huh? See, these are things to consider. So, after that, make sure your items are fully stocked. So you see, we used a couple of these Gravity Stone fans. If I invade right now, they're still not going to be fully stocked. It's still going to be 8. Personally, I don't think you need to do that, but it's always a good idea to have a maximum, like the maximum number. Because there are times where I've run out. And I'm an item hoarder. I played Fire Emblem back in the day. I would still like to, but unfortunately I just don't like it as much. But I played Fire Emblem back in the day. I hoarded items. I got better about it, I'd like to think, but it's still really nice going in with full items, you know? But even if you don't, you could still craft them mid-invasion. So don't think too bad about it. If you run out, you can still disengage, go hide behind a tree, crouch in a corner, and then grab some Formic Rock. you know? And then turn it into something. Actually, don't know what 4 mic rock is for. Let's find out. Oh, here it is. Acid spray mist. Is that really all that it's good for, though? That's so weird. It's the only thing that 4 mic rock is for. So you'd never need it. Because acid spray mist kind of sucks. That's really weird. Like, you'd think that maybe it's for a warming stone, right? But no. Smoldering butterfly. Huh. Well. So keep a consistent number of items equipped. So, I told you earlier, I like to keep 5. I recommend it's a good idea. So that you always have the same number of, like, down inputs to get back. You don't have to do it, but I would recommend always having the same number of items. Prioritize. So you gotta think, who are you going to attack first, right? Do I attack the wizard who's spamming me or the guy who's doing jump attacks? And the question, like, there's not really a good answer. You just gotta juggle between them, like I was saying earlier. But, the wizard is likely to have less health, so you could try to kill them first. And the other guy should be punished for their jump attacks because they're so easy to punish. And you know when you kill the wizard, the other guy's just going to run away anyway. So the question is, do you kill the phantom or do you kill the host first? Then in that question, I don't know, that one's up to you. Honestly, I like to kill the phantoms. I like to kill whoever's attacking me, honestly. But if I can, I'm going to try to kill the phantoms first because I like watching the host run away in fear. Other than that, high damage or careful longevity. I was kind of talking about this. This character's not really meant for high damage. They're meant for longevity, or they're meant to last, to not die. They're supposed to be able to have a lot of resources, and when you're a faith build, it's really easy to do that, you know? It's really easy to have a whole lot of resources. And something I didn't talk about or even mention, your cerulean to crimson flask allotment. If you're not using FP, like you're not using spells, I recommend 1 flask in cerulean as an invader, which equates to 2 flasks as a host. You need to put 2 flasks in your cerulean flask, just so that you can have an additional flask when you kill a phantom. Because when you kill a phantom, or a phantom dies, you get 1 of each. Which is, I guess, how they were meant to try to balance that. Because this being split is probably one of the, like, most annoying things in the game. Because it really cements that magic is just not going to be as easily used as like any physical weapon. It's really annoying. But the fact is, it exists. I recommend having 1 blue flask as an invader, which means having 2 as a host, and putting everything else into crimson. If you're playing a wizard who's going to be casting a lot of spells, then I recommend having 4 flasks as a host, which equates to 2 flasks, 2 cerulean flasks as an invader. And if you're really crazy about it, I recommend having 3 flasks, 3 cerulean flasks as an invader, which is 6 flasks as a host, which is what I do on my lightning character. Purely because it is a pure caster. It does not have a weapon. The claws are purely like decoration, kind of. They're just there to inflict heavy poison. or deadly poison. So yeah. And after that, there's things that you just need to remember and watch out for. Like I told you earlier, madness and sleep are really strong. You can't roll through them. You're going to get procced with madness or sleep, which means you need to be careful of that. You can't just let that happen. You need to calm yourself and roll properly and keep away from there and use your boluses. And I know madness is harder to deal with because you can't just get 99 boluses unless you have a friend, but that's just all the more reason to keep away from it. And it's understandable that a lot of people are upset about that. I hope we get a renewable source of that that's not difficult to farm. Another thing to consider is bleed really hurts. Which is why I have blood boluses on my my quick menu, my pouch. These are important because lots of things have bleed. You need to be careful about that. It does a lot of damage. Curing frost is situational. So you know I'm using freezing pots. I don't want to reset the frost because I like doing more damage with my normal weapons. It's more of a buff for me to debuff the opponent using frost. So because of that, I just let them have it. And if they reset it, I'm like, alright, here's 236 more damage. And I just throw another one at them. Which is why I don't think it's a good idea to cure frost. Because frost, like blood, is going to do a percentage amount of damage when it happens. But the problem is your opponent using frost weapons? Or are they throwing frost pots? Or inflicting it with that? It's situational. You gotta think. Should I cure it now so they don't do more damage to me? And I can just evade avoid the frost, the freezing pot next time? Or should I let it stick around and not worry about it? Is my opponent going to be resetting it themselves with fire? Personally, I think that's a good thing, because now they just did your job for you. You don't have to make the decision. Your opponent just got rid of your defense loss. Isn't that nice? So I don't think it's a good thing to reset frost, like on purpose. I think it's better to wait for it to run out. It's still something. I do it on my Blood Flame Scythe character because it's just kind of I like inflicting frost on people from a distance. It's one of the parts of bingo specifically to kill someone with a freezing pot, because I do it so often. I want other people to do it too. And freezing pots are some of the best ritual pots that you can make, because they're just made out of 2 rhymed crystal buds. They don't cost any focus points. And it works at 90 or below, I would say. Even sometimes 100 something. In one hit, it'll frost proc them. Now, the problem is actually hitting someone, but it usually works. And even if it doesn't, it's still threatening. And it's completely free, and it requires a very renewable resource. It's so nice. I really recommend using freezing pots, because rot pots don't work at higher levels. Freezing pots work at a little bit higher levels than than rot pots do. So I recommend using freezing pots. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I was talking about frost. I'm sorry, I got a tangent. Rot can be dangerous because rot does a decent amount of damage. Personally, I always cure poison and rot because I have plenty of boluses for it, but not everyone is going to have preserving boluses. There's a lot through the game. You can also use Flame Cleanse Me, which is nice. Usually I let people get that off if they have it, because it does a little bit more damage to themselves when they do it. And then I get to stab them. And I don't mind if they cure the rot. But personally, I use rot and and poison a whole lot because it's just nice to get someone to a squishy level of health so that I can rush them down and finish them off in 2 hits. And that's what Rot Pot does. It gets them down to like 1200 health. I hit them once, and then I hit them twice, and then they're dead. It's great. So just be careful of Rot. Rot's pretty dangerous, but you gotta know when you can cure it. And then poison is still damage, is what it says here. There's also deadly poison, which isn't supposed to last as long, but there are ways to make it last as long as normal poison, but it's specifically on 1 weapons, and it's not that amazing, so... Deadly poison is pretty strong. It's not as good as Rot. It only lasts for 30 seconds, usually. I think I already said that. I'm not paying attention to myself anymore. I'm just spouting nonsense, but... Poison is still damage. It may take a little bit longer than Rot does, but it's gonna get them down to the squishy amount that you need them to be at, and it stacks with Rot, so yeah. Just do both. Things that don't care about poise. So, Moonveil, armor poise goes up to 133 if you use Bullgoat's Talisman. Normally it goes up to 100 using full Bullgoats. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it should be less than that, because I think that some things should just not be able to be tanked, but Bullgoat Talisman increases your poise by 33% or so. It gets to 133 poise. You cannot use that poise to tank Moonveil, the Ash of War, the transient moonlight. It's not enough. And it never will be. Because it kind of goes through everything. There's a lot of stuff that does that, especially like Blood, Frost, Madness, Sleep, stuff that does a pancake can sometimes, like, fully charged R2s, colossal swords, lots of things just are going to bypass your poise. And you need to recognize that. Like, great swords, colossal swords, jumping R2s of pretty much everything, jumping R1s of a lot of things, curved great swords, Ashes of War such as Unsheath, Spinning Slash does a really high amount of poise damage. You can tank it, but not very easily. I think Blood Belayed Dance actually breaks a really high poise level. Lots of things can just defeat your poise, and you gotta watch out for that. You gotta be aware. And it's just one of those things you gotta find out as it happens, because there's so many different ones. You know, like Goldbreaker, that's gonna send you flying. It's gonna bounce you off the ground. It's cool. Okay, so other than that, things that do counter damage. So, anything that is Pierce. It says right here, Pierce. You see, Pierce? If it says it does Pierce damage, then that means it does counter damage. You can see over here, we have versus Pierce. It says 29.308. Well, if you do this, it goes down to 8. For just a moment. See, it goes down to 8. And that's how you know that you're taking counter damage. It's like visually representing. And like if someone has on the spear talisman? The spear talisman, see? It increases that by like another 15% or something, I'm not sure. So you're taking a lot of damage from thrusting damage. Thrusting damage has always been like, watch out, you're getting stabbed. You're gonna die. Be careful. But it only applies to physical damage in Dark Souls 1 and 3 and Elden Ring. In Dark Souls 2, it applies to every damage. And it's more of a counter hit thing, and not really piercing or thrust damage. In this one, for some reason, they started calling thrust damage as pierce damage. I don't know why they did that. I kind of like thrust a little more, but whatever, I guess. It's just the problem is scythes have piercing. They go through shields. It's called piercing. So that's where it gets confusing for me. Because there's pierce damage, and then there's piercing damage. And then there's pierce damage. On things like, where is it? The sickle. It's, the vulgar militia shuttle. Pierce damage on the Lucerne. I actually don't think it has pierce damage. I'm not sure. Like, on the running R1, I don't think the running R1 has the pierce. I think you have to do the R1 or R2. Like, neutral, it works on the jumping ones. But I don't think the running one works, specifically. And I'm not really sure why. But anyway. You gotta be, watch out for counter damage. Ashes of War you can't trade with. So I said this already, but there's Ashes of War, like this one. It's got a lot of armor. Don't swing into it, don't get hit by it. Just don't trade, like, Great Serpent Hunt. Don't get hit by it. If you get hit by it, everyone's gonna laugh at you. And definitely don't get hit by the follow-up. I think it's just L2 again. Yeah, L2 again. Like, don't get hit by that. Don't try to hit someone through that. Don't get hit by it. Just be careful. And Horaloo's Earth Shaker. I think I have that on here. Yeah. You can't trade with this. It will stun you with the roar. So don't do that. You can jump over it, sure, but you gotta be careful about it. Be aware of your surroundings. So, like, this is the Lake of Rot, right? Be aware. The Lake of Rot is filled with rot. Be aware of your surroundings. You know, like in the volcano place, there's those jets of lava. There's the, you know, there's the dragonkin enemy over somewhere over that way. I don't know. It can hit you as an invader. Be careful about it. You know, you don't want to fall off this ledge. You need to be aware there's a ledge here. Don't fall into the rot like I did. Figure out how to get back. You know, you don't bump into this wall. Don't get the camera to bump into this wall. And you're like, oh no, oh, I can't turn around. There's still, okay, I got out. And like you're panicking. Don't bump into this tree with your weapon, because if you do, then you'll see you're in a sort of deflect state. It's hard to do. Okay, it's hard to do, but if your weapon bounces off of something, you take a lot more damage. You take a lot more damage during that moment. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't tell you, I guess. But you take a lot more damage. I'm tired of those being there. Don't rely on things that are temporary. So, you know, I was telling you earlier about buffs. The buffs are just there for the initial confrontation. You have a chance to take out the opponent before these run out, and you need to capitalize on that chance. You need to be ready to go in, and you need to be aggressive, but you also need to be smart. So that's what the whole point of this video is about. You need to be aggressive, but you need to be smart. You need to mix up your move. You need to give them the old reverse jumping R2-1. Like, you need to do stuff. All before your buffs run out. And when your buffs run out, you need to not panic. You need to be like, you know what, I didn't need those, but I need to play a little differently now. I need to be a little more careful, because I can't get hit as much as I could before. And maybe I can put my buffs back on if I remember. Oh no, I forgot to put my poise back on. No wonder I was getting broken. You know, things like that. You gotta be aware. And you gotta not rely on it. If it's temporary, don't rely on it. And that's really it. That's all the advice I have. Like, the only thing left on here is the mindset. Like, it's okay to lose. You just need to learn why you lost, right? Like, is it because I didn't have enough poise? Is it, like, I could try to deal without that, I could get a great shield or something. Is it because I didn't have... Is it because I had a source seal on and it was lowering my defense? Because technically that's always true, it's just... Was it really something that I needed to think about? Or is it, like, okay that that's how I play? Is it because my flask wore off? Because I played... Like, I fought them for too long? And I was relying too heavily on my buffs? Is it because I fumbled an input and I did a jumping attack into someone's heavy armor? Or I didn't know how that weapon worked, and now I do. You know, things like that. It's okay. It's okay. Just work it out. It's just one match. We're not competing or anything. It's just for fun, you know? And another one is just, as an invader, it's not really your goal to win. It's not really your goal to kill the host. Your goal is to make the game like it should be. Like, ultimately, killing the host would be the easiest way to slow them down, right? But if you really think about it, they're just gonna spawn back at the Grace, summon their friends, and then go back to it, right? So the question is, what do you want? Do you want to win? Do you want to defeat them and then go on to the next invasion? Or do you just want to stand there and be an obstacle in their way? Like, they don't have to come over to you. You can just stand there and be like, hey guys, I'm the boss now. You have to defeat me if you want to complete this area. And they're just like, no way, man, we're gonna stay over here and do nothing. Like, that's their choice, and you don't have to do anything to stop them. They're stopping themselves. Right? Like, you gotta think about it. What do you want? What is your objective? Like, you can mess with them. You could kill them in a specific way. You could troll them as much as you want. You could give them items. You could just hide and watch them from a long distance. Like, I love doing that. Just like, huh, these guys are idiots. What do they think they're doing? Just wandering through the rot swamp. Boy, if only they knew about the thing where if you roll in the swamp and let it build up naturally, that if it did less damage than if you built it up by standing in it. Like, check this out. So if it builds up from having rolled in it, it's still a good 48 points of damage, I think it's 46 points of damage, yeah. 56 points of damage. Jeez. No, it's 46, yeah. But if you just stand in it, first off, it builds up a lot faster, which, you know, that's gonna happen anyway. 58. So 46 versus 58. Not a whole lot of a difference, but the point is, it adds up. It's still more. So yeah. It's okay. It's okay to taunt people, but it's just a game. You don't need to go in to your recent messages and figure out, like, I shouldn't point any fingers, but you know, people, you message them, they're like, hey man, I'm just trying to get through the game, what are you doing? And you'd be like, you suck at the game, you gotta deal with that. You shouldn't be doing that. Like, it's okay, you can do that, it's not terrible, just don't take it too far, you know. It's still part of the game to get frustrated and to, like, fight people and be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I don't know, dude, I'm just having fun. It's like, hey, you suck. It's like, hey, I know I suck. Oh, it's okay, man. You can get better at it. Like, stuff can happen. You never know. The point of the game is, like, interacting with these people you've never seen and you probably never will. Because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to be later. you don't know if, like, tomorrow it's like, hey, man, I said some rude things, I finally beat that boss, thanks for your advice, or thanks for showing me that my health was too low, you know, stuff like that. You don't know. Or it's like, hey, I beat the boss because, I don't know. What was it? I beat the boss even though you said I couldn't. It's like, hey, that's what I wanted anyway. Good job getting good at the game. It's like, dang, man, I didn't think about that. I don't know. There's all sorts of things that could happen, and that's what the beauty of it is. So, one of these is play how you want to. It's like, people can't force you to play a certain way. Don't play by their rules is the next one. It's like, play how you want to, don't play by their rules. It goes hand in hand. It's like, if you want to do the weapon swaps I was saying I don't like to do it. I can't stop you. I'm telling you I don't really like it because it's not really interesting, but sometimes there's weapons where it would be interesting. Like, the Black Knife is the only weapon with Blade of Death on it. Or there's Glintstone Pebble. These 4 weapons right here, these 2 weapons, the Lazuli Glintstone and the Carrion Knight Sword, are the only weapons in the game that have blocking attacks. That's pretty cool, but they're not really good on their own. So it's okay if you swap to them, because, like, it's cool, it's interesting. And, like, if you swap to Sword of St. Trina mid-fight, I'm gonna laugh at you, but you can do that. That's okay. I'm like, you can't win, so you're pulling out the super powerful sleep sword. Like, come on. I still don't know where Sword of St. Trina is. I don't know where to get it. I never found it in my first playthrough. So my personal opinions. What I think about when I am invading. I think that I'm the bad guy. I think that I'm doing this specifically to hurt people. Like, I'm intentionally trying to slow them down. Like I was saying, I think that I'm the bad guy because I'm trying to stop them from beating the game. Like, not because they summoned people to make it easier on themselves, or because they just felt like playing with their friends, or they didn't level health. It's just, I'm trying to stop them. I don't want them to beat the game. I want to be an obstacle in their way, and, like, I will do anything to stop them from progressing. And sometimes that means throwing a rot pot at them because they're in front of the boss room and they waited too long. And I'm going to do that. Like, that is my vendetta, I guess. Like, is that right? Vendetta? I'm not sure. But that's what I do. That's what happens when I invade you. I'm gonna try to do something before I leave. And sometimes all I can really do is take 2 flasks away from the host that they're immediately going to get back. And sometimes all I can do is waste a couple of minutes of them chasing after me because I don't do enough damage and they actually leveled health. And I'm satisfied with that. Like, that's okay. I'm the bad guy. I wasted your time. I didn't waste my time. This is what I wanted to do. So, on that, my personal thought is that if I can invade someone, that means it's their fault. That, like, they invited me in here. I'm gonna play how I want. It's their fault that I'm in their world. It may not be their fault that me specifically showed up, but now they have to deal with me. And I'm gonna sit on their couch and watch TV. And there's nothing they can do about it. Like, they're gonna have to do something. Here comes the blues. Oh no, the blue is dead now. It's like, it's their fault that I'm here, especially if they use the Taunter's Tongue. Like, if they're like, why aren't you dueling me? I'm like, because I don't want to, and I don't have to, so I'm just gonna sit here, and you're gonna have to chase me. And if you come and chase me, I'm gonna try to fight you, but I'm gonna go run to the lobsters, and so, that's your fault. And on that note, invasions are not duels. If someone is by themselves, I'm not gonna fight them. I'm just gonna be like, sup dude, I'm in your home now. Welcome, you're my wife. I don't know, you're my roommate. Where's the, where do you keep the meat? I don't know. I'm hungry. It's just like that. It's like, it's your fault that I'm here. I'm gonna do whatever I want. Bye. And then I just leave, and they're like, dude, fight me. I'm like, nope, no fighting. You want to fight, so I'm not gonna fight you. All I have to do is stop you from progressing through the game, and if you're not progressing through the game, then I'm not gonna do anything. And I don't know, people don't seem to get that. They seem to think that it's about the fight. And I'm like, no, I'm here to stop you from playing. I'm here to slow you down. I'm here to make your life a living misery. I guess. Like, sometimes it is about the fight. The problem is, most of the time, if I have to fight someone, well, they don't have any health. Which is why I'm trying to push that so hard. Like, level your health if you're going to summon people. You can't rely on them. I'm going to focus you. I'm going to kill you first. I'm going to make it your fault, and your friend is going to be like, dude, why don't you have any health? It's like, I don't need health. I want to use this cool weapon. It's like, oh, this is why I hate invaders. They always kill the host. It's like, yeah, I'm going to kill the easiest target in the room. Well, I think that should be enough for this video. Yeah, this has been a long journey, huh? Damn. This game is awesome. I don't know, I like Elden Ring a whole lot. I still want to play Dark Souls 2, but Elden Ring is just like, it's still fresh, I guess. Like, it takes a while for a FromSoft game to get, try hard, I guess? I don't know. Having the ability to invade anywhere, you know, near and far, it's amazing. It really makes everything feel so fresh. Like, it's a different location really often. There's so much to the game, and then there's gonna be DLC, like, at some point, like, it's just so much fun. When I go back to Dark Souls 2, I don't know if I'm gonna stick around for very long. Like, I really want to play it, but man, I just really like this. Alright, well, hopefully you got some ideas from this. Like, I'd said the important stuff early, specifically so that you wouldn't watch the whole video and learn anything, because you'd be satisfied from what you learned already, but, yeah, I'm looking forward to, I don't know, when people actually start leveling health, because then I'd have to play different. And I don't know if it'll be a good thing or not. Because a lot of the time, I built my characters to last, rather than do damage, and I don't know if when I don't do enough, like, any damage because they actually have health, if that'll make me re-decide that, and, like, instead of having 2020 health at level 55, I'm gonna have, like, 1,800 health, and also, like, invest into strength or dexterity. Probably dexterity, because that's supposed to be a power stancing character. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I'm getting out of here. Thank you for watching.